What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to a special edition of Wedger. We Sibz and Ledger combining. So if you're watching this on We Sibz, what's up? If you're watching it on the Ledger, welcome to the Laracuente Ledger Network. Today we are talking about a very sad day. It is the end of Quibi, but there's still hope. Stick around to the end as we've got a special announcement for you guys. Before we get into that, hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell so that you don't miss an episode. And with that, guys, let's get some reactions. Quibi is done. Why is this happening?
Why? I feel like it's kind of obvious. I mean, unfortunately, Quibi just started off, in the pandemic. It couldn't get up enough, attention and whatnot, despite having some really solid performances, some pretty decent shows. I think it just couldn't, catch wind, and we're in a pandemic. So I think it wasn't worth the money.
I feel like part of the issue, they did really good at marketing, but they didn't really explain it completely, I guess. Because people would hear about Dangerous Game, right? But then I'd tell them about Quibi, and they'd be like, what's that? So
That's sad, but I think you bring up a good point.
Yeah, I echoing that statement. I really feel like the areas where they advertised, people knew about it. What helped Quibi also hurt them, in my opinion. I think that the short form format was perfect in the right environment, but I do think that even if, let's say with Most Dangerous Game, for example, that had 14, 15, chapters, it still only equated to maybe a 1 hour television show. If we weren't in a pandemic situation and you're able to watch the shows kind of on a more mobile, version of it, when you're, for college students walking in between, classes on campus, or, on a lunch break, or, those different kind of things like that, that gives you the opportunity to kind of take in more of the show, where when you're there home during this global pandemic, you have the show at its full access. You watch it, maybe 40, 45 minutes tops, and then that's over.
Yeah, no, I definitely think COVID killed Quibi. I am of that opinion. Their design and their rollout was based on a world that had commuters, and that just got killed. Everybody's on Zoom. So basically Quibi is now barely 6 months old. $2 billion they had. Now, basically, the consensus is Quibi is shutting down to pay their shareholders, everyone involved, so that they lose as little money as possible, and then they're shutting it down. Do you guys think that Quibi should have taken more of a risk, stuck it out a little bit longer? Maybe, the pandemic would have turned a corner at some point?
I think Jay makes a really good point. I feel like Quibi is made for a fast-paced life. Because of the pandemic, people are sitting in. Even if the pandemic had made a turn, we still wouldn't be back to the fast-paced life that we had before the pandemic in time for Quibi to make a successful comeback.
I'd like to point out that one of the major red flags that I kind of see now in hindsight is that we are the only major coverer of Quibi, and I think, the Ledger is amazing, of course, but I think that because we didn't have a whole lot of competition discussing Quibi, that was kind of a sign, kind of a prophecy in a way.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. The lack of coverage for Quibi is also another thing. You can see Quibi obviously spent a lot of money in celebrity TV shows. So I think it was a mix of things. They also shot everything in 8K and 8K cameras. You're spending a lot of money in that, in production, etc. So you add the celebrity endorsements on top of that, and I can see how they quickly burned through $2 billion in cash. But from there, guys, I want to get into, obviously, like you said, Zach, and it's a great segue, we loved Quibi. We had been covering it since day one, covering some of the biggest shows from Quibi. What was your favorite show to cover?
I think my favorite to cover was The Stranger, because it was so terrible. It was so awful. And it was the first Quibi show that we did. So Christopher and I were getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to cover it. So it was more just the insanity that happened while we were watching and covering the show that I enjoyed. But honestly, both of the shows that I covered sucked. So, Where the Streetlights Go On had such great potential. and I was so down for it, but it just ended terribly.
We get comments to this day with people just getting to the end of those series and be like, man, this sucked. Or like, so I think, unfortunately, you went 0 for 2. But what you said your favorite one was The Stranger just because
it was fun to cover it with you. It was fun to be up at, it wasn't fun, but it was a time to be up that early and exhausted, trying to make the show sound like it was worth watching.
I think I only covered one show. I think I only covered 50 States of Fright.
Well, you were the only one that had 2 seasons, though.
That's
true.
true.
All of our
Better
shows
than you guys.
were only a single season. So.
I mean, 50 States of Fright is a weird show to cover at 3 a.m. because you watch it and you get scared because it's 3 a.m. You're not completely there. You're not lucid or anything. And then you have to sit there in a dark room, try not to look over your shoulder, and talk about, the scary story that you just watched. So it was a little traumatic. But yeah, if you look at some of those videos, you'll notice that I'm actually a little agitated or looking at corners.
It's tough for me because both of the shows that I covered, Most Dangerous Game and #FreeRaySean, were incredible shows. I think with the story itself, I really liked Most Dangerous Game just because I felt like it was really encompassing a serious cat and mouse game, a fight for survival. And I think that the twists and turns that we got from that show really just, some of the stuff I didn't see coming, some of the stuff that I expected to happen didn't, some of the stuff I didn't expect to happen did. So I thought that it was just really well put together. So for me, it would probably be Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like, and by the way, guys, if you're liking the content, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell so that you don't miss. But yeah, that was one of the things. Quibi had some really good gems. So whether it was format, whether it was the fact that, like you said, Zach, sometimes people would know the show, but not even know where to stream it, or the fact that it was on Quibi. Just somewhere in that process, something went wrong. Personally, I think for me, my favorite show to cover, I really liked Survive. But again, I gotta say The Stranger has to be a favorite just because of the grueling process it was to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, watch a show that had potential but fell flat every 5 minutes, literally at the end of every episode. And it drives you mad. And at some point, especially at the finale, you and me said we're coming to the end of a week or so of getting up with these early mornings, and then for the show to just smack us in the face. It was a wild ride. In a lot of ways, I think falling flat sums it up.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that a lot of people, even to this day, don't know what Quibi was. And the fact that Quibi really stood for quick bites. And that to me is part of their downfall.
Well, it's kind of interesting. When Netflix and Hulu were advertising, they had the same issue. I remember not knowing what Hulu was for years because they had those weird alien commercials with Alec Baldwin.
Who's just a weird individual that's not going to make me tune into anything.
It was just a really weird concept. I don't know how Hulu got to be what it is. You're not necessarily advertising a brand. You're advertising you're pretty much advertising a library. Yeah, so it's a funky thing to you're advertising other people's content.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a hard balancing act because you have to tell them what shows you have, which is all Quibi did was talk about the shows. But then you also have to tell them where you are, what you gotta get. So it's this balance of show them what they want to see, but also show them how to get it.
You all make a great point. The downfall of Quibi in a lot of ways was the marketing. But before we get into, it's not all bad news, but before we get into our big announcement, guys, we've covered everything from FreeRaySean to 50 States to Streetlights to Survive and The Fugitive. There have been so many shows. What would we vote after having either watched each other's coverage on it or watching it ourselves as the single best Quibi show? If we were to recommend to you guys at home, what would it be? What would that show be?
Most Dangerous Game.
Yeah, I was going to say Most Dangerous Game.
Most Dangerous Game was
I agree.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just
what's even
Well,
crazier? I haven't seen it, but Liam Hemsworth is in it, and I saw Jay's coverage.
So, guys, with Quibi coming to an end just November 5th, that's our recommendation. Go watch Most Dangerous Game. while you still have time. Who knows if these episodes will be archived? What I'm assuming, and what I would assume we would predict, is that somebody's just going to buy the rights to a lot of the shows, whether it's Netflix, Hulu. These shows are going to show up somewhere else on another platform. We know Sam Raimi is doing 50 States, and so maybe the second season or some other things will, or even possibly a third season will end up on there. But with that, we want to reward you guys. If you stayed tuned this long, we have a special announcement here at the Laracuente Ledger. And Zach, why don't you tell us about a new project here?
Oh, I will. Let me just set the mood for everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the basement with Zach. Are you kidding me? There's a power saw. I like it. It's adding to the motif.
Oh my god.
Don't mind that.
Oh my god.
You're just sawing people in half.
We have taken it upon ourselves to finish the 50 States of Fright, called the States of Fright. Right? Intrigued? You should be. These episodes will be written and co-written by myself and Sydney here with us today. And they will be starring all of us, along with a couple other people, some no-name actors. You'll meet them eventually.
Just following up on the States of Fright presented here on the Laracuente Ledger Network by The Basement with Zach. Make sure you check out the teaser trailer we dropped on Halloween for that very show. We will leave links to that down in the description as well.
Yeah, so guys, you definitely want to stay tuned for this. This is coming in the coming weeks. So again, be sure to hit the subscribe button and click the bell so that you don't miss, guys. We have recaps of all of the Quibi shows. So if you want to relive it even after the November 5th date, we'll leave the links to our top 3 picks as well as all the shows that we've covered on Quibi here at Sibz and also on the Laracuente Ledger. So this episode will be airing on both channels just so we can get this out to as many of you guys as possible. This is our final Quibi episode. Obviously look forward to the brand new spin-off series we're doing. But let us know what you thought your favorite Quibi show is down in the comments below. Be sure to like this video if you're liking the content. It helps out. Subscribe, click the bell, and share this with your friends as we grow this community, this awesome content that we're doing, just a group of friends making this stuff for you guys. We have a great time. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!